As I drew my last breath, Wang Jingwo was still kicking me in the stomach. When I opened my eyes again, a large, crimson double happiness character loomed overhead, a red as deep as seeping blood. Red dates floated in an enamel wash basin, and the stench of Wang Jingwo's liquor-laden breath washed over my neck. My fingers found the cold glass bottle beneath the pillow. The chilly water inside gleamed with an amber light in the moonlight. "You bitch!" He tore open his shirt and lunged at me. This time, I didn't dodge. I aimed a bottle of pepper spray straight at his bloodshot eyes. Immediately, a pig-slaughtering shriek erupted, startling all the chickens, ducks, and geese in the yard into flight. Standing barefoot on the cold ground, I watched the bastard, who had broken my ribs in a past life, writhing in agony on the dirt. Hurried footsteps sounded from the outer room, and my mother-in-law rushed in, holding a kerosene lamp aloft. "Mother," I said, pulling open my collar to reveal the bruising, my voice colder than the moonlight outside the window. "They say it's bad luck for a new bride to see blood so soon after the wedding, don't they?" When I opened my eyes, the large, red double happiness character was swaying above my head. 2 new quilts were stacked on a peeling camphorwood chest, and red dates and peanuts floated in an enamel wash basin. The taste of rice wine lingered in my throat. I pinched my thigh hard. It hurt. This was no dream. "Sure, I saved a bowl of chicken soup for you." The door curtain was swept aside as mother-in-law Li Jinhua entered, carrying a coarse porcelain bowl. Chicken feathers clung to her blue cloth jacket, and her cheekbones were so high and sharp you could hang an oil bottle on them. I stared at the mole above her right eyebrow, my stomach churning. In my past life, this old hag skimped on my food money, forcing me to dig for wild vegetables by the river in the dead of winter. "Mom, where's Jangwo?" I played the good girl and took the bowl, 3 slivers of ginger floating on the surface of the soup, helping his father with the account books at the village committee. Her beady eyes swept over my belly. "Hurry up and have a boy. Don't be like old Jang's daughter-in-law from the East End, who only knows how to lay useless eggs." I stared down, stirring the clear soup, my nails digging into my palms. That's right, in my past life, after I lost my first child, she made me kneel in the snow and berated me for half the night. This time, I won't let her have her way. The kerosene lamp cast a yellowed glow on the newspaper pasted to the wall. My fingers found the hard glass bottle under the pillow, the chili pepper water I'd mixed in the kitchen at noon. That bastard Wang Jingwo loves his sweet potato liquor. He's bound to start a drunken scene any minute now. Outside, a dog barked 3 times, and the wooden door slammed against the wall with a crash. Wang Jingwo staggered in, 2 buttons of his Dacron shirt fastened wrong, the dark red birthmark on his chest like a blotch of congealed blood. "You good-for-nothing woman," reeking of booze in my face. "I've been working all day, and you can't even be bothered to heat up some water for me to wash my feet." I shrank back, my spine pressed against the cold wall. This scene was all too familiar. In my past life, this was the moment I received my first slap, as his fist came swinging through the air. I rolled sharply to the foot of the bed and sprayed the pepper spray from under my pillow right into his face. Wang Jingwo clutched his face and collapsed against the edge of the Kong. Ma, come quick." Li Jinhua rushed in holding a kerosene lamp, spilling oil on her blue cloth shoes. She saw her son curled up like a shrimp and let out a howl, lunging at me to scratch. "You damned whore, you just got here and you're already rebelling." I pulled open my collar to reveal my collarbone. "Look. This is where your son grabbed me." A bruise like this would take half a month to fade in my past life. "Shall we go to the party secretary and settle this? I hear the commune is looking to make an example of someone." The kerosene lamp sputtered, and Li Jinhua's nostrils flared wide. Seizing the moment, I yanked the red lacquered wooden box from under the bed, the abacus beads clattering as I spoke. "You put me in charge of the accounts this month. 5 yuan for big brother's wedding gift. 2 gin of brown sugar for second sister's family." "Shut up," she snapped, making a grab for the abacus. I sidestepped her, deliberately rattling the abacus beads with a deafening clatter. "You only gave me 8 yuan in total, so you actually owe me 265. How about we split the household? The west wing goes to us, and we'll give you 5 yuan every month for your support." Wang Jingwo suddenly sprang up from the ground, his ruddy, dringer's nose glowing bright red. "Like hell we're splitting up. You lay a hand on me and see what happens." I raised the bottle of chilly water. "Tomorrow I'll go straight to the village committee and wail about how the accountant's son beats his wife. Does your father still want that model worker title or not?" Those words hit him like a bucket of ice-cold water. Wang Jingwo's fists clenched so tight his knuckles cracked, but in the end, he just pounded them against his own thighs. Li Jinhua's eyes darted about. Then she suddenly slapped the Kong mat and wailed, "What a curse, We brought a she-devil into this house. I went about my business, packing up my bedroll. A cloth bundle fell out from within the red quilt. It was the one my mother had slipped to me when I left to be married. Inside were 3 fruit candies, long since melted and stuck to their wrappers, in my past life. Those candies were snatched by Wang Jianguo to sweet-talk the young widow at the end of the village, to get to the west wing. You have to pass through the main hall. Li Jinhua blocked the doorway, her arms spread out like a broody hen. Want to split the family? First, pay back the money you owe me. I pulled out a pack of Dakiaman cigarettes, which I had hidden at the bottom of my dowry chest. Mom, last month you took father-in-law's cigarette ration coupons. Nonsense, her voice cracked. Get out of here, now. A hole was torn in the paper window of the west wing, and moonlight sliced through it like a blade. I placed the chili oil bottle by the head of the bed and heard footsteps outside. Wang Jianguo squatted on the threshold, smoking a cigarette, its tip glowing and fading in the dark. How do you know how to keep accounts? He asked abruptly. My father was the team accountant. I could lie without batting an eye. In my past life, I worked in a textile mill for 10 years. I could work an abacus faster than a calculator. He didn't say a word. The moonlight fell on his wrist. In a past life. There was a scar there from where I bit him. He pinned me down in the pigsty and beat me. In a desperate rage, I bit him, and he grabbed my hair and slammed my head against the stone trough. Here, something rolled across the ground towards me, a baked sweet potato. Mom told me to bring it. I stared at that charred, blackened sweet potato. In a past life, driven by starvation, I stole a sweet potato. He whipped me with his belt so badly I couldn't get out of bed for 3 days. So, is this a slap in the face followed by a sweetener? No. He bent down to pick it up. Stay back. I grabbed the pepper spray. He froze. Then suddenly snorted with a derisive laugh. What a little hellcat. In the moonlight, his profile looked unexpectedly soft. Get some sleep. We have work tomorrow. I huddled in the corner, clutching my bedding. The night wind rattled the torn window paper, and in the distance, a dog barked. Wang Jianguo was humming a tune outside. It was actually The East is Red. I woke up shivering in the dead of night. A heavy army coat, reeking of cigarettes and liquor, had been draped over me. I threw it off as if shocked, but felt something in the inside pocket, a 5-mao note. Neatly folded into a small square, at the third crow of the rooster, I groped my way to the kitchen in the dark. I tiptoed to reach the clay pot where Li Jinhua kept her eggs on top of the cupboard, took it down, and cracked 2 into the batter. In my past life, I couldn't even get my hands on an eggshell. Now, screw filial piety. The batter sizzled on the iron griddle as I hummed a tune and spread the pancakes. The scent of scallions woke the big yellow dog in the yard. Its barking, in turn, roused Wang Jianguo. You good for nothing. Li Jinhua charged in, still fastening her trousers. How dare you steal my eggs? I slammed the pancake onto the chopping board. 1 pancake sells for 10 cents. 10 of them and I break even. Do you want to pay up or do you want trouble? Her beady eyes went wide. She suddenly snatched the spatula. More scallions. By the time the first rays of sunlight touched the village entrance, my little food cart was already set up under the old locust tree. The shop sign was made from a red bridal quilt cover, crudely cut and scrawled with the words Chen's Pancakes. Show her. Chuntao from next door called out, holding her child as she came closer. So you really did split from the family. I stuffed an extra piece of vegetable into the pancake. You bet. Food you earn yourself always tastes better. The batter sizzled as it hit the griddle, the aroma so enticing it made Chuantao's mouth water. Wang Jianguo squatted on the ridge, peering over this way. The brim of his straw hat pulled down low. I deliberately clanged my shovel loudly, and he suddenly got up and ran towards the supply point. When the sun climbed directly overhead, I counted the coins in my cloth pouch, 2 yuan and 30 cents. Li Jinhua came to sneak a look 3 times, each time leaving with a huff, and on the 3rd time, she tossed down a boiled egg. As I was packing up the stall, I noticed the cart's wheel had gone quiet. Looking down, I saw a new ball bearing lodged in the axle. In the distance, Wang Jianguo was whistling with a hoe over his shoulder, so off-key it could scare away the sparrows. I used the last of the batter to make a pancake, sandwiching in the final slice of cured pork. As I set it on the windowsill of the main hall, I heard an argument break out inside. You're spoiling her. Li Jinhua is smashing bowls. She's already walking all over her man. She can earn money, Wang Jianguo muttered sullenly. She's better than Bai Xiaomei from the East End. I peeked through a crack in the window. Wang Jianguo was clutching a bankbook when his father slammed his hand on the table. Dare to withdraw money to buy her a sewing machine, and I'll break your legs. The moonlight stretched the shadows long and thin. I was squatting by the chicken coop, counting the day's earnings, when I suddenly heard the west wing's door creak open. Wang Jianguo was tiptoeing out. the cuffs of his trousers caked with mud. "Where are you going?" I asked, holding up the kerosene lamp to block the doorway. He was so startled he nearly smacked into the doorframe, clutching a fishing net. "Gee, gonna catch some loaches." I spotted the supply co-op label stuck to the sole of his shoe and suddenly felt like laughing. In my past life, around this time, he was behind the haystack kissing by Xiaomei. The sky was still dim when I was woken by the sound of a chicken pecking at the door. Pushing open the rickety wooden door of the west wing, I nearly tripped over 2 bundles of firewood stuffed under the threshold, their fresh bark still damp with morning dew. I muttered to myself while lighting the fire, not even flinching when a spark landed on the back of my hand. Just as the iron griddle began to heat up, Li Jinhua's scolding voice carried in from outside. "You little spendthrift, using my lard again." I banged the spatula against the griddle with a deafening clatter. "Ma. The money I earned yesterday is enough to buy 3 gin of pork fat." The cured meat hanging from the kitchen beam swayed slightly. There she stood in the morning mist, hands on her hips, looking for all the world like a ruffled old hen. By the old locust tree at the village entrance, my little food cart was already surrounded by a dense, impenetrable crowd. Chen Tao, with her baby in her arms, squeezed her way to the front. "Show her. Give me an extra sprinkle of those crispy bits from yesterday." "You got it." I scooped up a ladle of batter, gave it a circular flick onto the griddle, and a glorious sizzle rose up, mingled with the scent of spring onions. I picked up this trick in a past life at a night market. You can spread the golden batter so thin it's like paper. Well, look who's rolling in it now, Boss Chen." A voice dripping with sarcasm grated in my ears. I looked up to see Bai Xiaomei sashaying over, her dacron dress so tight you could make out the line of her underwear. Her father was the supply and marketing cooperative director. In a past life, she'd been caught in the cornfields with Wan Zhangwo. "Want a pancake, accountant Bai? I cracked an egg on it for you." "With an egg? It's 15 cents. She jabbed her red fingernail at the sign. "Got a hygiene permit? Could you afford to pay if someone gets sick?" The onlooking villagers shrank back. I slammed my spatula down on the griddle. "What about the coarse chaff they mix into the walnut cookies at the supply and marketing co-op? Wasn't it your uncle who found half a cabbage worm in his last time?" The crowd burst into laughter. Bai Xiaomei's face flushed a deep, purplish red, and her high heel nearly twisted into the muddy ditch. Chen Tao tugged at my sleeve. "Watch out, she's up to no good." I heard she and Wan Zhangwo, brother Zhangwo. Bai Xiaomei's voice, suddenly shrill, made me jump. Wang Zhangwo walked by. Ho slung over his shoulder, his undershirt was rolled up to his navel, revealing a lean, wiry waist. I slathered a heap of chili paste into my pancake. "You put pomade in your hair just to go work the fields." The tips of his ears flushed bright red. From the cloth bag hanging on his hoe handle, the stub of a pencil peeked out, the one I'd used for bookkeeping the day before. Bai Xiaomei slithered up to him like a snake. "Brother Zhangwo, I really want some of that pancake." She drew out that last syllable so long it could have circled the village 3 times. Wan Zhangwo jumped back as if he'd been scalded, stammering, I don't have any money on me." My treat. Bai Xiaomei stuffed a handkerchief into his pocket. "Tonight. By the riverbank, he's married." I slammed the pancake down on the greased paper, splattering chili sauce onto the back of my hand. Wan Zhangwo suddenly snatched the pancake and took a huge bite, huffing and puffing from the heat. "Delicious. Way better than the county's state-run restaurant." Bai Xiaomei stormed off in a huff, staring at the chili sauce at the corner of Wan Zhangwo's mouth. I suddenly noticed a fresh scar on his left cheek. It looked like it had been scratched by a fingernail. In my past life, around this time, he was behind the haystack, making out with Bai Xiaomei. The midday sun was brutal, so I rigged up a tattered bedsheet under the locust tree as a makeshift awning. Li Jinhua sauntered over with a bamboo basket, tossed 3 eggs near my feet, and said, "Don't let folks say the Wan family is stingy." The eggs were still warm from the nest. I fished out 50 cents and stuffed it into her basket. "Consider them bought." Her lips trembled. Then she suddenly yelled at the top of her lungs, "Extra scallions, that's the good stuff." When I was packing up the stall, I found a cigarette carton paper tucked under the money box, with a scrawled note saying Bai Xiaomei's father was coming to inspect the hygiene. My heart sank. The handwriting matched the pencil hanging from Wan Zhangwo's hoe handle. Sure enough, 2 men wearing red armbands showed up the next day. The leader gave my cart a kick. "We've had a report that you're using moldy flour." I lifted the lid of the flour vat and grabbed a handful. "This is freshly milled wheat. Want me to steam a bun for you to try?" Chuantao's mother-in-law, who was watching the commotion, pushed her way in. "I can vouch for her. Just yesterday I borrowed her sieve to sift flour." The red armband cadres left, looking rather sheepish. I caught a glimpse of Wan Zhangwo squatting on the ridge between the fields. The brim of his straw hat pulled down so low I couldn't see his face. In the mud at his feet, he'd drawn a bunch of circles, like the hopscotch grids we used to play on as kids. A fine drizzle began to fall in the evening as I squatted in the kitchen, pickling spicy cabbage. For once, Li Jinhua hadn't locked the cupboard. The sugar jar sat there, gleaming conspicuously on the kitchen counter. I scooped half a ladleful, then remembered her past life face as she mixed sand into my porridge. My hand trembled, and I poured half of it back. A bowl shattered in the main hall, followed by a shout, "You stole my bankbook." The old man's roar shook dust from the rafters. Peering through the door crack, I saw Wang Jianguo stiffen his neck and say, "I only took 20. Buy a sewing machine for that, Jinx." In your dreams. The sharp crack of the clay pot shattering on the ground made me stumble back half a step, my back thudding against a solid chest. Wang Jianguo had slipped out at some point. He thrust a cloth bundle into my arms, hissing, "Hide this." The stitching on the bundle was crooked and uneven. Li Jinhua's handiwork. Inside lay 5 yuan and a crumpled sewing machine ticket dated last August. In a past life, that ticket had bought by Xiaomei a red dress. The rain grew heavier. Wang Jianguo squatted on the doorstep, mending his fishing net. I stared at the new streaks of white hair on the back of his head. "Here." I tossed him a pancake, loaded with double the usual spicy sauce. It was so hot he had to toss it from one hand to the other. He took a bite and it made his eyes water, coughing out, "Are you trying to kill me?" I couldn't help but snort with laughter. A dark figure flashed by outside. Li Jinhua was peeking over the windowsill, clutching an egg in her hand. That old woman, sneaking around to deliver an egg as if she were a thief. On market day, I made a point of changing into a blue cotton shirt. I'd just set up my pancake stall when Bai Xiaomei came sashaying over, with 2 market inspectors in tow. "That's her." Her red fingernail nearly jabbed my nose. "Operating without a license." I pulled out a certificate stamped with the village committee's red seal, approved by Accountant Wang. "Care to take a look?" Director Bai. "I got this last night by trading 5 Gina pancakes with my father-in-law." As the market inspector leaned in to check the permit, Bai Xiaomei suddenly shrieked, "There's a rat in her basket." The crowd instantly scattered. I yanked off the cover cloth. It was clearly the loaches Wang Jianguo had caught this morning, wriggling and splashing in the basin. Is Accountant Bai blind? I grabbed a loach and flung it over. "This stuff is highly nutritious." A slippery loach slithered down her collar, and Bai Xiaomei jumped about like a scalded frog. Chuntao and the others were doubled over with laughter. I hadn't noticed when Wang Jianguo had pushed his way in. He was clutching a bundle of hemp rope, the veins bulging on his arm as he growled, "Anyone else want to cause trouble?" Business was unusually good that day, so much so that we ran out of batter and had to rush home to fetch more. I pushed open the door to the west wing, and there, by the window, sat the sewing machine. The cold metal frame of the Butterfly brand gleamed faintly. My hands were shaking so badly I couldn't find the stitches. From outside, I could hear Li Jinhua cursing. "You good for nothing, you've ruined my back," jolting me around in that donkey cart. That night, for the first time, I didn't lock the door. Wang Jianguo was squatting in the courtyard, sharpening a pair of scissors. The moonlight stretched his shadow long and thin. The sewing machine clattered away until the small hours, as I stitched a little shirt for Chuantao's baby. At the first crow of the rooster, a bowl of brown sugar water appeared on the windowsill. I licked the rim of the bowl. It was so sweet it caught in my throat. Li Jinhua must have traded the egg money for sugar. A cough sounded from outside. Father-in-law walked towards the fields with his hands clasped behind his back, his trouser cuffs smudged with sewing machine grease. That afternoon, Bai Xiaomei's father came in person. I slipped an extra slice of cured pork into his pancake. "Uncle, I hear you're being transferred to the county seat." He wiped the grease from his mouth. "That's right, I'm leaving next month." I caught sight of Bai Xiaomei stamping her foot outside the supply and marketing co-op. When Wang Jianguo came home that evening, he carried the scent of vanishing cream on him. I was stomping on the sewing machine pedal so hard the whole house shook. He was squatting on the doorstep peeling garlic when he suddenly blurted out, "The other day, I helped Bai Xiaomei's father move some goods." "What's that got to do with me?" I bit through the thread. It was a sewing machine. He popped a raw garlic clove into his mouth, hissing as the pungency hit him. A Butterfly brand. My hand slipped and I pricked my finger. A bead of blood welled up, which he pressed with a clove of crushed garlic. This folk remedy was something I taught him in my past life. He said it stung the wound. I said it was better than an infection. Li Jinhua was making a racket in the main hall, slamming things around. "Is garlic free or something?" I tossed the garlic skins into the air, and they fluttered down like a flurry of snow. Wang Jianguo suddenly smiled, revealing a dimple on his right cheek I'd never noticed in my past life. At the crack of dawn, I was woken by a steady clack 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 sound. I looked up to see Li Jinhua hunched over her sewing machine, humming a tune from The Red Lantern. Morning, Ma. I leaned against the doorframe, munching on a pancake. She jumped up as if stung by a hornet, her beady eyes wide. Who wants this piece of junk? I spotted my coarse cloth jacket soaking in the wooden basin by her feet, the stitches on the collar patch as fine as embroidery. In my past life, I begged her on my knees to mend my clothes, and she spat in my face. The market day was packed. I hung the buy 3, get 1 free red sign on my cart. Bai Xiaomei, dressed like a butterfly, was handing out fruit drops at the co-op entrance. Sister Qin Xiu, she said, your clothes are so faded from washing. I gave a little shake to my newly sewn floral sleep protectors, made them myself. They'll last. Make way, make way. 2 people wearing red armbands pushed through the crowd. There's been a report of food poisoning. I know that fat guy leading the pack. Last time he came for a sanitation inspection, he took 2 jean of eggs from me. Bai Xiaomei pointed a vermilion lacquered fingernail at me. It was her family's pancakes. My uncle got sick after eating them. The crowd erupted in a buzz, and Chuntao dropped the pancake she had just bought. I grabbed the iron spatula and banged it against the griddle. Everyone, watch closely. I splashed lime water onto the countertop with a crash. White smoke billowed up, making the onlookers recoil. The flour is fresh wheat from Dongshan. The oil is pressed at home, and the scallions were just pulled from the yard. Wang Jiangwo popped up out of nowhere, a flour sack tucked under his arm. Freshly ground this morning. Folks, take a look. The flour, snow white and fine, cascaded onto the lime-washed kneading board, even finer than what you'd get at the supply and marketing co-op. Make way. Li Jinhua pushed through the crowd, cradling an earthenware jar. These are from my old hen, laid just this morning. With trembling hands, she cracked an egg. The golden yolk and clear white clung to the edge of the board, making everyone's mouths water. Bai Xiaomei's face turned ashen. She stomped her high heel on the flour sack I'd dragged onto the ground. Don't you play innocent. Your man was down by the river last night. I was washing the griddle by the river. Wang Jiangwo suddenly bellowed, his neck flushing a deeper red than chili paste. Bai Xiaomei, you think I didn't see you slipping that handkerchief into my pocket in the dark? The crowd erupted in a chorus of jeers and catcalls. That's when I noticed the corner of a pink handkerchief peeking from his trouser pocket, embroidered with a tacky pair of mandarin ducks. In my past life, I got slapped 3 times over this worthless scrap of cloth. Looking back now, it just seems ridiculous. I'll take 10 pancakes. Old man Chuntao slammed a crumpled ration ticket on the counter. Anyone who'd pass up such a fine wife must be blind. The crowd surged forward in a rush, nearly toppling the pushcart in the crush. Bai Xiaomei was being dragged back by her father, his grip tight on her arm. Her dacron skirt ripped open with a loud tear, revealing the patched underwear beneath. My fingers were cramping from counting money as the sun began to set. Wang Jiangwo was squatting, fixing the wheel of a pushcart, his army green trousers smeared with oil stains. Li Jinhua suddenly let out a yelp of surprise, fishing out a bankbook from beneath the money box. Oh my, oh my. Her aged face flushed a deep, purplish red. The most recent entry was a deposit of 50 yuan from just yesterday. Mom, if you're short on money, Pa. She threw the bankbook in Wang Jiangwo's face. Who wants your lousy money? But sharp eyes noticed her secretly wiping the corner of her eye with her sleeve. When we packed up the stall, it started to rain, and Wang Jiangwo draped his jacket over my head, his spine pressed against my palm. A little more flesh on it than the bare bones I'd felt in a past life. Passing by the general store, he suddenly darted out into the rain and came back with a bottle of orange soda cradled in his arms. Here, the cap was already pried off, and sweet, fizzy bubbles spilled over onto the back of my hand. I took a couple of gulps and, out of the corner of my eye, saw his Adam's apple. Bob, want a drink? No, I'm not thirsty. He turned his face away, the back of his neck flushed red. In our past life, he'd snatch my hard-earned money to buy booze. Now he's learned to be shy. The sewing machine hummed incessantly through the night. I sewed a pair of knee warmers for Li Jinhua. Her old leg aches always flare up when spring comes. The window paper was suddenly poked through, and 3 warm boiled eggs were pushed through the hole. Wang Jiangwo crouched by the chicken coop feeding grasshoppers, the moonlight casting his shadow onto the sewing machine. I bit off the thread and heard him humming a badly off-key rendition of Tian Mimi. The whole village turned out to see the commotion when Bai Xiaomei's father was transferred away. I'd put on a brand new dacron shirt for the occasion, and Wang Jiangwo's eyes kept darting towards my waist. Qin Xiu. Bai Xiaomei rushed over, dragging her suitcase, her red leather shoes caked in mud. Don't you look so smug. Just wait until I'm in the county town. Here. I shoved an oil paper package into her hands. Pancakes for the road. I put in double the chili sauce. She was caught in a bind, unable to either keep it or get rid of it. The shuttle bus drove off, kicking up a cloud of dust. Wang Jiangwo suddenly thrust a small tin box into my hand. Inside lay a pair of silver earrings, engraved with the tiny characters, department store. Where did this come from? My voice trembled slightly. In our past life, he never even gave me a single red hair ribbon. Saved up from catching loaches. He scuffed a stone under his foot. Last time I saw you eyeing Chuantao's earrings. Li Jinhua yelled from the other end of the threshing ground. You good for nothing. Get over here and carry this wheat. We burst out laughing at the same time. Lately, she's been insulting people without using a single curse word, and she even sneaked some minced pork into my pancake. On the first day of summer, I had Wang Jiangwo build an earthen oven in the yard. When the first batch of sponge cakes came out of the oven, the aroma was so rich it set half the village's dogs to barking. Li Jinhua held the cake, reluctant to eat it, insisting on saving it to show off when visiting relatives. Mom, eat it while it's hot. I broke off a piece and popped it into her mouth. She chewed with her cheeks puffed out, then suddenly slapped her thigh. We should have mixed some sesame seeds into the batter. While the two of us, mother and daughter, were huddled together working on the new recipe, Wang Jiangwo was squatting on the doorstep, whittling bamboo skewers. His skill at skewering spicy cabbage has surpassed mine now. He can arrange them on a plate to look like a blooming flower. On the busiest day of the wheat harvest, I passed out from heatstroke by the stove. When I came to, I saw Li Jinhua twisting mugwort into rope, the whole room filled with its medicinal scent. Wang Jiangwo was dozing at my feet, clutching a palm leaf fan in his hand. Mom, you should go and rest for a while. I tried to sit up, but she pushed me back down with one hand. Stay put, she snapped, tucking in my blanket corners roughly, though her fingers were trembling. Serves me right for being saddled with you two little devils. Moonlight filtered in through the gaps in the roof tiles. I heard Wang Jiangwo murmuring in his sleep. Don't be afraid, show her. I gently touched the ends of his hair. It was prickly, the crew cut he'd never touched in his past life, even unto death, now carried the scent of wheat straw and sunshine. As the rooster crowed for the third time, the sewing machine started up again. Li Jinhua was sewing tiger head shoes for her unborn grandson, her reading glasses slipping down to the tip of her nose. Wang Jiangwo squatted in the courtyard grinding soy milk, the stone mill creaking as it turned in circles. I lifted the lid, and the freshly steamed sponge cake was as fluffy as a cloud. The morning breeze carried the scent of locust blossoms through the window lattice. As the Supply and Marketing Cooperative's loudspeaker began to play On the Fields of Hope, next. Let's listen to the following story. I woke up and rejected the marriage proposal from my beloved, Lin Jiwen. I casually pushed the educated youth Zhao Qing into his arms. He's a hypocrite, she's a phony, they're a perfect match for each other. What's more, I'm going to help them get together and wish them a lifetime of being stuck with each other. In my past life, Lin Jiwen tricked me into bearing his children and taking care of his entire family. He was out there living a shameless life with Zhao Qing, leaving me to languish in the countryside. I was stuck caring for a mother-in-law with manic episodes and a son who expected everything handed to him on a silver platter. When I fell ill, I couldn't even get a glass of water. I later found out that Lin Jiwen only married me because he couldn't bear to see Zhao Qing suffer through childbirth. He used me as a breeding tool and a cheap nanny. Given a second chance at life, I won't just push them together, I'm going to make sure they get a taste of every single hardship I endured. Zhao Miao Miao, put on this string of prayer beads right now, consider it our engagement gift. Lin Jiwen dangled the prayer beads in front of my eyes. Seeing that I wouldn't take them, he gave a few dissatisfied, demonstrative coughs. I stared in disbelief at that dull, dark string of beads, and a wave of bitter sorrow welled up inside me. In my past life, Lin Jiwen had an accident while he was out and ended up lying in bed, unconscious. For 3 whole months, I was the one taking care of him. Seeing no sign of improvement, I turned to superstition and went to a Buddhist temple to pray for beads that would protect him and bring him peace. Later, he miraculously woke up, but then, at some point, those prayer beads went missing. When they suddenly reappeared, my surprise was quickly overtaken by sheer delight. He must truly care for me and worry about my safety to have gone through so much trouble to retrieve them. So, deep down, he does care about me after all. I was so happy I felt like a fool, throwing myself into his arms. But instead of the warm embrace I expected, he grabbed my arm, shoved me away forcefully, and sent me crashing to the ground. He yelled at me furiously, blaming me for touching him with my dirty hands. If I got his clothes dirty, what would he wear to pick up Zhao Qing, right? Every time Zhao Qing went out to the countryside, he was always standing there in that same outfit, watching over her every moment. Even getting engaged to me was probably something he squeezed into his schedule. At that thought, I let out a cold laugh and said with complete disinterest, "Oh, I see," he muttered in annoyance, his eyes constantly darting toward the village entrance, his expression anxious. Seeing this, I forced a casual tone and joked with him, "If you've got somewhere to be, go ahead, I'll put the prayer beads on once I've washed my hands properly." He chuckled, his expression lightening a little. "Once the application goes through, I'll take you to meet my parents, I'll treat you well for the rest of my life. But don't you go gossiping about Zhao Qing like the other village women, it'll only make things harder for her." I wanted to explain, but the words caught in my throat, because no matter what I said, Lin Jiwen would never believe me. Seeing my silence, he couldn't be bothered with me either and hurried off towards the village entrance. Watching his figure recede into the distance, I couldn't help but think of my past life. 2 months into our marriage, I found out I was pregnant, under the pretense that the first trimester is unstable. He brought his mother over to take care of me. In reality, he was leaving me to manage and care for his mother, who suffers from mania. I was already physically and mentally exhausted from working while carrying a child. Even at home, I had to constantly cater to my mother-in-law's every whim, the slightest misstep, and she would either hit or berate me. To avoid hindering Lin Jiwen's future prospects, I stubbornly kept it all to myself, yet on the day I gave birth, he was too busy accompanying his sweetheart to the city for a play, leaving his wife, who was fighting for her life, completely unattended. He was scarcely ever around until our son turned 6. Every time he came home, he'd even bring back old, discarded clothes for us. He'd call it being frugal, saying how hard it was for him to earn money, yet in the blink of an eye, he'd turn around and spend his own hard-saved wages, along with my own blood, sweat, and tears, on luxury items for Zhao Qing. Just when I'd finally made it through to my child's adulthood, my mother-in-law's manic episodes grew even more severe. She went out and injured someone. To earn enough for the medical compensation, I worked myself to the bone from dawn till dusk, and ended up falling ill. I was bedridden, unable to move. With great difficulty, I called out to my son to bring me a glass of water. He glared at me with pure malice and kicked me to the ground. "Drink, drink, drink. All you do is laze around all day, you don't even cook. Are you trying to starve me to death? And you have the nerve to lie here pretending to be sick? You should just hurry up and die already, that way, Auntie Zhao can be my new mom." Just as that little brat wished, less than 3 days after my death, Lin Jiwen made a grand spectacle of marrying Zhao Qing and bringing her home. They held a lavish banquet in HeScreamed for 3 days and 3 nights, and every guest in attendance praised them as a perfect match, a talented man and a beautiful woman. My son served as a flower boy, and the first thing he said was to thank Zhao Qing for raising him all these years. He lamented what a good mother she was, unlike me, his birth mother, who was a wicked woman. I neglected him completely, leaving him to fish for shrimp and small fish in the river in the dead of winter. Yet it was me, sick and dragging myself through the bitter winter, who had to wade into the icy water, all because he was throwing a tantrum, demanding something fresh. If I refused, he threatened to smash a rock into his own eye socket. My mother-in-law, who suffers from manic episodes, stood on that stage and accused me of being unfilial and disloyal. She claimed I was carrying on with the lame neighbor, Wang Ermatzi, and was even seen climbing out of his window. Overcome with emotion, she even revealed the dense web of scars on her arm to the guests. She claims that after she discovered me, I abused her at home, grabbing her hair and slamming her head against the wall. But those are exactly the things she did to me. Those scars were also self-inflicted by her during her episodes. Zhao Qing and Lin Jiwen ganged up to spread rumors, painting me as a lazy, domineering shrew who ruled the roost at home and was always bossing people around. Now that I've been given a second chance at life, they're going to pay back every last thing they owe me. Clutching the prayer beads in my hand, I splashed some water on my face and hurried straight to Zhao Qing's house. The moment I reached the doorstep, I spotted that familiar old flying pigeon bicycle. This bicycle was something I had to scrimp and save for, then practically beg someone to buy for me at a steep price. Right now, it's leaning forlornly against the doorway. A few people were sitting in the courtyard, and the sound of chatter and laughter drifted over now and then. "Qinger, that watch looks absolutely lovely on you." I think they'd be a perfect match for Qinger." That voice, it sounds just like my ex-mother-in-law. I quickened my pace without thinking and peered through a crack in the window, where I saw 2 people gazing at each other with deep affection. The old woman standing behind them was none other than my ex-mother-in-law herself, Lu Feng. Lin Jiwen gently brushed aside the stray strands of hair from Zhao Qing's forehead, revealing her delicate features. "You flatter me, brother Jiwen. Thank you for your kind feelings." "What feelings?" Under their astonished gazes, I walked slowly into the room. I didn't miss the awkward glances from everyone, nor did I miss Lin Jiwen pulling his hand back from where it was intertwined with Zhao Qing's. "You, what are you doing here?" Lin Jiwen's words came out in a stammer. This was how he always acted when he was embarrassed. Ignoring him, I picked up the prayer beads and slipped them directly onto Zhao Qing's wrist, with a keen eye. I noticed a faint mark on her wrist that perfectly matched the prayer beads, so, the prayer beads hadn't gone missing at all. Lin Jiwen had simply passed them on to someone else. "Sister Zhao Qing," I said, steadying myself and speaking with earnest sincerity. "These were the prayer beads Jiwen used to propose to me, but they never looked quite right on my wrist. Seeing the two of you together today made me realize this bracelet was always meant for you." At these words, a blush crept onto Zhao Qing's cheeks, and she hurriedly began to take it off. No, meow meow, you got it all wrong." I stopped her before she could remove the bracelet. "I know all about you too, don't mind me, just carry on as you were, meow meow, you really are mistaken, a misunderstanding." I feigned surprise and raised my voice. My shout startled our neighbor, Sister Hua, and a rustling sound came from next door. If I were to accidentally let this news slip, the whole village would know they were dating within a day. Oh dear, I feigned a look of pity, inching imperceptibly closer to the wall of the neighbor's house where the young lady Hua lived. "What misunderstanding? I've heard from many folks in the village that they saw you two holding hands, sneaking off to the back hill for a secret rendezvous, just like in the storybooks." I spun my wild tale with animated expressions, completely oblivious to the awkward, flustered looks on their faces. "And Sister Zhao Qing, this big gold watch on your wrist, this new outfit, didn't Brother Jiwen buy all of this for you? Those new shoes on your feet, I stayed up all night stitching them together, every single stitch by hand. I was wondering who Brother Jiwen was going to give them to. I never expected it would be you, Sister Zhao Qing." I took stock of every single item she was wearing. Not one of them wasn't the product of my own hard work. Zhao Qing hemmed and hawed, unable to get a proper word out for the longest time. Her little face flushed crimson, two fat teardrops welling up in her eyes. She looked utterly miserable. Lin Jiwen couldn't stand to see her cry and instantly flew into a rage. He lunged forward in one swift stride and shoved me hard to the ground. "Zhao meow meow, that's enough. Who gave you the right to bully her like this? Keep spouting that bullshit, and I swear I'll make you regret it." I collapsed onto the floor, the pain making my head spin and my vision blur. Before I could even catch my breath, my ex-mother-in-law, Lu Feng, started screaming at the top of her lungs. "What my son does, who he dates, and what he buys for her is none of your damn business. Let me tell you, my son even bought her a whole chest of jewelry. Go on and be jealous, you country bumpkin." As soon as the words were spoken, a heavy silence fell over the surroundings. I clearly heard the sound of little Hua's astonished voice in my ear. It seems she heard everything. A sharp, disapproving click of the tongue came from next door. I forced myself to squeeze out a few tears. "I know, Brother Jiwen is not someone I could ever hope for. Hua, I'll go back and explain everything to everyone, and I wish you a lifetime of happiness together, and a child soon." With that, I ran out. Just as I expected, the very next day, the whole village was buzzing with the news that Zhao Qing and Lin Jiwen had been an item for a long time. They even said that to win her over, Lin Jiwen had spent every penny he earned on her. The new clothes and jewelry were all in the latest, most fashionable styles. Quite a few people felt I had been wronged and spoke up for me. Naturally, Zhao Qing and Lin Jiwen had also heard the rumors. When the two of them showed up at my door to cause trouble, little Hua happened to be visiting with a whole group of people. "Zhao meow meow, you come out here right now. What a vicious mind you have, spreading rumors about Zhao Qing's reputation in the village. Do you really think doing this would make me like you? It only makes me despise you more. You'd better apologize to Zhao Qing right now, or else." Lin Jiwen kicked my door open in a rage, only to find the room full of people. His leg froze midair, and it took him a good while to recover from the shock. I pinched my thigh hard, slumped to the ground, and started wailing. "Brother Jiwen, why would you think of me like that? I've already agreed to let you two be together. What more do you want from me? What, do I have to spend all my money on clothes for Zhao Qing before it's enough? I really have no money left. Please, just let me go. I'm begging you." As I spoke, I crawled over and grabbed Zhao Qing's pant leg, wiping away my tears. "Zhao Qing, I'm begging you. I've already given you all the money I can. Please talk to Brother Jiwen for me. Ask him to let me go." Zhao Qing looked as if she'd seen a ghost, frantically trying to shake me off. While dodging, she bumped her stomach and instinctively clutched it tightly. Her face was pale with panic, her lips bloodless. It was as if there was something in her belly, The neighbors all around were pointing and whispering, who would have thought? That Lin boy looks so respectable on the outside, but he's rotten to the core. He actually used his fiancée's money to keep another woman on the side, and when he got caught, he had the nerve to come banging on her door, trying to snatch the money back. Ugh, what a disgrace. Seriously, who would believe these two aren't dating? They're even coming here to snatch money together. The crowd around us was berating them in outrage, while I pretended to be pitiful and begged them to stop. Everyone, please stop talking. Sister Zhaoqing isn't feeling well. She's been holding her stomach. I wonder what's wrong. All eyes instantly turned to Zhaoqing's stomach. Someone with sharp eyes said she was pregnant. Unable to withstand the relentless barrage of questions and gossip, the two of them fled my house in a panic. Out of pity for me, the crowd wanted to take me to the party secretary's house to seek justice. It wasn't just about reclaiming justice. I intended to take back everything they had taken from me. At noon the next day, just as I had gathered the evidence and was about to leave, I saw Zhaoqing come darting in. She pulled me into the room. Zhao Miao Miao, why did you set me up? My relationship with brother Jiwen is completely innocent. The gifts he bought me were purely out of a sibling-like affection, with no romantic feelings whatsoever. I had no idea he used her money to buy them for me. In her agitation, Zhaoqing even swore to the heavens, if I'm telling even half a lie, may I die a horrible death. I've been fooled by Lin Jiwen's promises one too many times in my past life. I don't believe in oaths anymore, I scoffed, looking at her with cool composure. You dare say there's nothing between you two? I don't buy it. After a pause, I continued, don't try your hypocritical act on me. Get out of my way. I'm going to the party secretary's house to settle this. Zhaoqing stretched out her arms, leaning against the doorframe, blocking my way. Meow meow, please listen to me. I wasn't lying to you. I'm a victim in all this, too. It was Lin Jiwen. He threatened my future, demanding that I submit to him. He said if I didn't, he'd withhold my permit to return to the city, ruin my bid to become head of the cultural troupe, and leave me to toil like a beast in the countryside for the rest of my life. Zhaoqing covered her face, sobbing. He raped me. He got me pregnant. She dropped to her knees with a thud. Please, I'm begging you, help me. Don't tell anyone about me and him, please. I shook her hand off roughly. If you have something to say it at the party secretary's house. Zhaoqing, so this is where you are. The door creaked open, and Lin Jiwen, his face etched with worry, helped Zhaoqing up from the floor. Zhao Miao Miao, you vicious woman. I never would have guessed you were this kind of person in private, forcing Zhaoqing to kneel and reducing her to tears with your scolding. The sheer audacity. Not only did you bully her first, but you have the nerve to think about taking this to the party secretary's house to settle the score. Give me a break. I let out a cold laugh. Fine, since you think I'm such a vicious woman, it's perfect timing for the three of us to go together today. Zhaoqing grabbed Lin Jiwen's arm and said, enunciating each word clearly, no one is going anywhere. The election for the head of the cultural troupe is underway, and even the slightest rumor could cost her the position. After all, her rival is just looking for a way to bring her down. She can't afford to hand them any ammunition. Lin Jiwen tried to reassure her. Zhaoqing, don't be afraid, the party secretary is a reasonable man. Zhaoqing looked furious, gritting her teeth as she said, meow meow, I'll pay you back the money. I'm begging you, just go easy on me in front of the secretary. I raised an eyebrow. That's easy, as long as you two get married right now. I won't go to the party secretary's house to report you. Really? They asked in unison. Really? I laid out the backup evidence I had gathered before them, assuring them repeatedly that I would drop the matter if they got married and paid me back the money I had spent on them. If not, I'll go to the county and report them. Right now is a critical moment with Lin Jiwen running for county magistrate and Zhaoqing competing for the head of the cultural troupe. They certainly don't want to drop the ball at this crucial juncture. Alright. Without a moment's hesitation, they turned and left. In the afternoon, 2 little red booklets were placed before me. So, are you going to hand over that evidence now? Of course. I passed them the evidence with both hands, then turned and rode off on my old bicycle. Humming a cheerful tune, the 2 men left behind watched me ride away on their only valuable asset, that old bicycle, and their faces turned ashen with rage. By the time I managed to buy a ticket to Harbor City, 2 hours had already passed. I would be leaving in just 2 more days. On the first day, I packed my belongings simply, sold what I couldn't take, and gave my old flying pigeon bicycle to little Hua. On the morning of my departure, I secretly handed the evidence of Lin Jiwen's bribery and abuse of power for personal gain to his competitor. As for Zhaoqing, all we need to do is spread the word that she's pregnant and will be unfit for the role of troop leader in the future. That very afternoon, I boarded a bus bound for Harbor City. Harbor City is the epicenter of the film and television industry. If you want to break into voice acting, this is the place to start. Arriving in Harbor City, I was a complete stranger in an unfamiliar place. I was rejected from the voice actor audition due to my lack of experience and low educational background. You don't know anything and still want to be a voice actor. Go home and herd cattle. The interviewer's scornful voice echoed in my mind. I secretly vowed that I would definitely become a voice actor. The first and most important step was to further my education. To save up for tuition, I worked 2 jobs a day. I sold breakfast in the mornings and washed dishes at a restaurant in the evenings. During the day, I'd hustle for odd jobs on film sets, picking up voice acting skills along the way. A month later, Hua Xianyo called me. Meow meow, Lin Jiwen lost the election, and Zhao Qing didn't get appointed as head of the cultural troupe either. It turned out that right during Lin Jiwen's election campaign, a rival brought him down with an anonymous tip-off. The organization was deeply disappointed in him. In one fell swoop, Lin Jiwen went from being a key candidate for grooming to just another ordinary, run-of-the-mill educated youth. After Zhao Qing lost the election for platoon leader, she secretly had an abortion, terrified of the pain of childbirth. After hanging up the phone, I was filled with a wave of melancholy. Thinking back to my previous life, it was also right after Zhao Qing lost the election that he rushed to marry me. Looking back now, he just wanted an heir, and I happened to fit the bill. He was sneaking around with Zhao Qing while also keeping things ambiguous with me. I can't think of any other reason besides wanting my money and taking advantage of my kindness. 2 weeks later, as I was getting ready to set up my breakfast stall as usual, I spotted a familiar figure from behind. "Excuse me. Ma'am, have you seen a tall, slender girl with her hair in a ponytail?" "About this tall?" Lin Jiwen gestured with his hand up to his earlobe. He asked it several places in a row, and seeing him about to walk over, I was so scared I immediately ran off. I randomly gave the breakfast in my hand to a passerby and went back to my rented room. Lying in bed, I tossed and turned, wondering if the truth had come out and he was here to settle the score. The moment the thought crossed my mind, I couldn't wait to pack my things and make a run for it. No sooner had I stepped out the door than I literally bumped into Lin Jiwen. "Meow meow, so this is where you've been hiding. I've been looking all over for you." Lin Jiwen spread his arms and lunged toward me. Furious, I shoved him away. "What are you doing here?" "Meow meow, I was wrong. Please come back and marry me. Zhao Qing is simply not a good wife." As the crowd of onlookers grew, I had no choice but to set down my luggage and take him to a cheap noodle shop to sit down. Lin Jiwen wore a long face as he complained that Zhao Qing had become a completely different person after marriage. All she cared about now was dressing up and spending money like it was going out of style. When they ran out of money, she'd blame him for being useless, and she was constantly picking fights with his mother. It got so bad that it triggered his mother's manic disorder again. Coming home meant walking into a war zone between 2 people who were utterly incompatible, juggling one person's needs after another. This life is just miserable. Lin Jiwen, did your unhappy marriage make you think of me? You came looking for me, hoping I'd go back to being your wife, like before, to make your life better. Lin Jiwen nodded, then, realizing something, shook his head. "No, that's not what I meant. I don't care what you meant, just get lost. If you don't leave, I'll go back to the village and report you." A married woman running around flirting with people. Lin Jiwen was still pestering me, so I turned around, grabbed him, and dragged him to the police station, accusing him of harassment. The moment we reached the police station entrance, Lin Jiwen hastily shook me off and slunk away. Watching Lin Jiwen's retreating figure, I hastily packed my things and found a new place to rent. I also took the opportunity to call Hua Xianyo and gave her a heavily embellished account of Lin Jiwen's visit. With that done, all I had to do was sit back and wait for Zhao Qing to deal with the nuisance that was Lin Jiwen. No need for me to get my hands dirty. Letting them fight it out amongst themselves is the real masterstroke. In the afternoons, whenever I had a free moment, I'd dash over to the film set. No sooner had I arrived than I saw the director tearing into a group of new voice actors. "What the hell are you lot even doing? It's just a few lines of dialogue, and you still can't get it done after days. If you can finish it this morning, fine. If not, get the hell out of here. This company doesn't pay you people to sit around and do nothing." The dubbing studio was in complete disarray, with a few young voice actors looking utterly miserable. It turned out that a crucial sound effect had been eluding them. For 7 straight days, they had cycled through several batches of actors, but none could produce the desired result. The director was furious. The film was scheduled to wrap in just 1 month. I recall that in my past life, the voice actor I admired once said, "The most complex voice acting often requires only the simplest tools. Perhaps I could give it a try." So, I mustered up my courage and went to find the director. Director, why not let me have a go at this voice acting? You, the director looked at me, puzzled. Are you kidding me? You're not even professionally trained, you don't know the basics. He gave me a thorough dressing down, then immediately called for someone to throw me out. He said I was nothing but a nuisance and told me not to hold up his work. In a panic, I grabbed his hand. Just let me give it a shot. If I fail, I'll provide free lunch boxes for the crew for 3 months, okay? The director grunted a few times. Everyone always raves about my cooking. In the end, they pushed me into the dubbing booth. Under the watchful eyes of everyone, I began my first voiceover session. Drawing on my knowledge of dubbing studios from my past life, I confidently picked up the tools. Facing the screen, I used 2 teacup lids to mimic the sound of horse hooves. With my mouth agape, I mimicked the calls of various jungle birds and beasts, completely unaware of the admiring gazes from the crowd outside the window. After the voiceover was done, everyone applauded and welcomed me out. You did a great job, meow meow. Well, I never would have guessed. You're quite the talented country girl, aren't you? While everyone else was praising me, the director was the only one who kept a cold, stern face. He called me into his office and told me to sit down. Don't think that just because you did this one voiceover, you're a voice actor now. You've still got a very long road ahead of you. Even though he's always putting me down, on the whole, this voice acting job did manage to earn his approval. After all, he's notoriously sharp-tongued in the industry. He pointed out that my biggest hurdles right now are my low educational background and lack of professional expertise. The moment I realized that, I decided to use most of my savings to enroll in a private acting school. The enrollment process was quick, and on the 3rd day, the principal notified me to start school. On the first day of school, a really handsome guy showed up in our class, and wouldn't you know it, he ended up sitting right next to me, making all the other girls green with envy. Hi, I'm Song Siming, nice to meet you. Seeing Song Siming extend his hand, I politely reached out and shook it in return. Hello. The entire morning was a struggle, spent under the intense, scrutinizing gaze of all the girls. As soon as the school bell rang, Song Siming quietly sidled up to me and whispered, "The breakfast you made was delicious. When can I have it again?" A pair of big, earnest eyes looked at me, and before I knew it, I promised to bring him some next time. That next time turned into over a week. My wallet was getting nice and plump. On Saturday morning, an unexpected visitor showed up at my door. "So this is where you've been hiding, Zhao Miao Miao. Tell me, where are you hiding?" Lin Jiwen. Zhao Qing was standing right at the door of my new place. Catching me completely off guard, a week ago, Lin Jiwen had a falling out with Zhao Qing and, in a fit of anger, took off for Hong Kong. I later heard from Little Hua in the village that Lin Jiwen had come to Harbor City looking for me. She came rushing over in a hurry, having somehow managed to find out my address. "Lin Jiwen must have come for you. Do you dare to open the door and let me see if he's inside?" With no other choice, I stepped aside and let her in to check. She searched high and low, but the person she was looking for was nowhere to be found. "Stop looking. He's not here, and I have no intention of rekindling anything with him." "Impossible. If you have no intention, then why did he come all this way to find you? Why does he call out your name in his sleep?" Zhao Qing was making a scene like a fishwife, standing at the door of my rented flat, screaming that I was shameless and that I was trying to steal her man. She lured her man away, making him abandon his family and job to travel all the way from Haishur to Gangcheng. Neighbors gathered at the commotion, gleefully watching the spectacle of the wife confronting the mistress. As the situation spiraled out of control, I swiftly tied Zhao Qing to a chair and called the police. At that very moment, I caught a glimpse of the tea egg vendor sneaking out the door from the corner of my eye. The police hadn't arrived yet, but Lin Jiwen showed up at the door. "What are you doing here? Aren't you ashamed enough?" Zhao Qing burst into tears of hurt, loudly accusing him of having a change of heart. His first move upon arriving wasn't to untie her, but to blame her. All right, don't cry." Lin Jiwen was just about to untie her when the police arrived and took the 3 of us away. After a brief inquiry, the police reprimanded them for spreading rumors and slander. They were ordered to apologize to me. After a few more stern words, we were let go. I hadn't even made it out the police station door before I saw Song Siming, stuck to a chair like a piece of gum, waiting for me. "Meow meow, you're out." Song Siming walked right up to me on his own, completely oblivious to the murderous look in Lin Jiwen's eyes. "What are you doing here?" "I'm hungry. I heard you were here, so I came to find you." I glanced at my watch. It was just past noon, lunchtime. My stomach let out a few untimely rumbles, and I embarrassedly covered it with my hand. Just as I was wondering what to eat next, Song Siming took my hand. We went to a famous Western restaurant in Harbor City. Shortly after we were seated, the waiter expertly opened a bottle of red wine for us and served a medium-rare steak. Meow meow. This Western restaurant is really good. No one ever came with me before, so it's been ages since I've eaten here. Since you're here today, I thought I'd treat you to a nice meal. He who accepts a gift sells his freedom over dinner. I agreed to bring Song Siming lunch every day. The condition was that he would pay me, which happened to solve my urgent financial need. The unique, tart flavor of the red wine lingered on my palate. Before I could savor it properly, I saw Lin Jiwen rushing over to me. Meow meow, come back with me right now. Don't be fooled by this playboy. He's only interested in toying with your affections. Song Siming, who had just been accused of toying with affections, was not pleased. Hey, buddy. Get your facts straight. I haven't done a thing. How can you say I'm toying with anyone's feelings? Lin Jiwen, who always prided himself on being young and handsome, was a bit miffed. He was only in his 20s and was already being called buddy. His expression immediately darkened as he accused the other man of harassing his fiancée, and they said he was just a thug, putting on airs as a gentleman to prey on naive young girls like me. I punched him right in the face. Lin Jiwen. Have you lost your damn mind? Didn't we break up ages ago? And didn't you marry Zhao Qing? Since when am I your fiancé again? Lin Jiwen stammered under my barrage of questions, insisting he would divorce Zhao Qing, and then give me a future. How ridiculous. Why on earth would I, Zhao Miao Miao, be desperate for a second-hand man? After learning the full story, Song Siming promptly kicked Lin Jiwen out of Hong Kong. I was so overjoyed I felt like kowtowing to him 3 times in gratitude. No. Don't, just bring me lunch from now on. The food at my place isn't any good. I never pried into his family situation, so to this day, I still have no idea what his background is. Just as Song Siming said, I never saw Lin Jiwen again after he drove him out of Harbor City. The next thing I heard was that the couple had been transferred to a remote post. Little Hua said 2 new people from the village had quickly been brought up to take their places. Over a month had passed, and my voice acting skills had improved. Even the notoriously demanding director began to look at me in a new light. 2 days later, the film I did voice work for premiered in Harbor City. The movie was a smash hit, thanks to Song Siming. He managed to snag a ticket for me. Right from the opening scene, the stunning lead actors made it impossible to look away. As the film neared its end, my voiceover finally came on. The entire audience held their breath, listening in rapt silence along with me. Even after leaving the theater, I was still completely lost in my own world. So this is what it feels like to hear your own voice in a movie on the big screen. Meow meow. You're amazing. Everyone's saying you did a fantastic job with the dubbing. I nodded with a shy smile. The school days flew by, and in the blink of an eye, winter break had arrived. Meow meow. A new ice rink just opened. Come with me. I'll take you to play in the snow. As someone from the south, I'd never seen snow before, let alone tried ice skating. When Song Siming first brought it up, I was absolutely thrilled. Beyond the excitement of my first time on the ice, there was a deeper curiosity about trying something completely new. Meow meow. Come on, give me your hand. Your personal coach is here for a hands-on lesson. With Song Siming's patient guidance along the way, I managed to learn how to ice skate, albeit in a rather wobbly and unsteady fashion. Every time I was about to fall, he would always appear right beside me at just the right moment. He would catch me in his arms, holding me firmly and keeping me safe. It was the first time I had ever been so close to him. My heart was pounding wildly. It wasn't just me, even his ears were flushed red. Song Siming, your hand. Song Siming kept holding me, but his hand accidentally brushed against my chest. In just an instant, he jerked his hand away. I lost my balance and ended up sprawled unceremoniously on the ice. He quickly helped me up and continued teaching me how to skate. I promptly put that embarrassing moment behind me. By the time we finally called it a day and left, dusk had already fallen. I was so caught up in having fun that I didn't realize until we left. The entire, vast ice rink seemed to have been just the 2 of us from start to finish. He didn't book out the whole place, did he? As night fell, after dinner, he drove me home. Gazing at the twinkling stars outside my window, I slowly drifted off to sleep. The next day, Song Siming was standing at my doorstep with a bouquet of flowers. Meow meow. Happy little New Year. The fair-skinned young man waited for me downstairs. I looked down shyly, cradling the flowers in my hands. He walked ahead, the light falling on him just like a leading man in a movie. The silence was so profound, broken only by the sound of our breathing. I could almost hear the frantic thumping of his heart in his chest, a rhythm that matched my own, a thrilling, electric excitement, on minor New Year's Eve. Song Siming took me to browse the largest department store in town. By the end of it, my arms were laden with bags, new clothes, jewelry, and various everyday items. Meow meow. Come spend New Year's at my place. My grandma says the more, the merrier. She hopes you won't mind and would like you to come over tonight. Song Siming seemed to have found his voice. Years ago, his parents divorced. After they each started new families, they left him in his grandmother's care, apart from sending money. Their contact was limited to a few words of greeting during holidays. Nowadays, even the basic pleasantries are skipped. At home, it was just him and his grandmother, and the Filipino maid they hired was a terrible cook. This left him constantly hungry, until he met me and latched onto me. Before I could even nod in agreement, he sort of reluctantly followed me back to the Song family home. Grandma Song was in her 70s or 80s, with silver hair, a particularly kind and gentle old lady. When she saw me arrive, she was so excited she could barely string a sentence together. This is the first time my eldest nephew has ever brought a female classmate home. It just makes this old woman's heart sing. It was clear that Grandma Song was overjoyed, her eyes crinkled with a smile, and her voice was bright and full of good humor. We were chatting inside when someone called from outside the door. Meow meow. Granny Song called to me. Go and answer the door, see who's there. I said I would. As soon as I stepped out, I saw a dark-skinned, lean middle-aged man standing at the door, peering into the room. He asked tentatively, "You're Siming's girlfriend, right?" "No," I said, shaking my head, and tried to invite him in to sit down, but he just waved his hand, indicating he had another package to deliver. When I got back inside, Song Siming and his grandmother were busy in the kitchen. Seeing me come in with a large package, Song Siming hurried over to help me carry it. This big package was sent by Song Siming's mother. It was all foreign snacks and a few souvenirs. Grandma Song called me into the kitchen to make tangyuan, worried I might not be used to the local food. She specially learned how to make tangyuan for me. Meow meow. Tell me if Grandma made this one right. In her hands, Grandma Song was shaping a tangyuan as big as a steamed bun, its round belly stuffed full of filling. Wow. Grandma's is so big and perfectly round. That's amazing. Song Siming, standing beside me, also held out his tangyuan for me to see. And how about mine? I looked it over from all angles and shook my head. It's alright, just not quite as good as mine. With that, as if to prove a point, Song Siming started competing with me over our handiwork. In no time at all, the table was covered with tangyuan of all sizes. Outside was bustling with noise, while inside was a scene of peaceful tranquility. Grandma Song and Song Siming vied to serve me the freshly made tangyuan. Meow meow. Eat this tangyuan, and may our family always be together and complete. I can't remember the last time I heard the phrase family reunion. After my parents passed away one after the other, I became an orphan. I've been supporting myself since I was 15. Thinking back on those difficult years, my eyes welled up without me realizing it. I could only keep my head down, eating the sweet rice balls one after another, trying to hold back the tears. After just a few bites, my teeth hit something hard, nearly chipping a tooth. I quickly spat it out. It's a coin. This means our meow meow will have a year full of wealth and good fortune ahead, Grandma Song explained with a smile, while Song Siming thoughtfully handed me a tissue to wipe with. She teased, "Such a thoughtful and sensible nephew. You should snatch him up quickly before someone else steals him away." Song Siming replied with a laugh, "Even if I were stolen away, I'd find my way back on my own." From under the table, a hand appeared out of nowhere and enveloped my small one in its tight grasp. I looked up and met his gaze, giving him a sheepish grin. He was looking right at me too, and we both shyly lowered our heads to eat the sweet rice balls, our hands instinctively finding and holding each other tight. Story 2. After Jiang Yan's first love got into a car accident, he insisted on bringing her home to take care of her. I didn't make a fuss and readily agreed. He looked touched and said, "Our relationship is purely platonic. I just want to ensure she's well provided for and cared for in her remaining years. Please don't overthink it." I didn't dare to overthink it. I just wanted to get out of there as soon as possible. Little did I know, in 7 days, I would die from overwork, on the very day of my funeral. He married his one true love. I am dying. This truth consumed my every rational thought the moment I was reborn. So when Jiang Yan lost his temper again and proposed bringing his white moonlight back to live with us, I stopped resisting. Fine, go ahead and bring her home. In the grand scheme of life, everything else is trivial. At 55, what's left to hold a grudge over? All I want now is to just survive. Jiang Yan was stunned. With a look of utter disbelief, he recovered himself, appearing awkward as he spoke in a flat, wooden tone. "Chiamei is crippled now. I'm the only one she can rely on. There's no other way." I gave a non-committal nod. I fished my health insurance card out of my bag. Let's go, you're coming with me. His eyes widened, as if he didn't recognize me. You have to understand, just half an hour ago, I was acting like a complete shrew, stubbornly refusing to back down and making a huge scene. I couldn't be bothered to argue, so I just walked away. On the way to the hospital, Jiang Yan remained expressionless and completely silent, but through the rearview mirror, seeing him repeatedly rubbing his palms together, I knew he was actually quite agitated. It's that indescribable joy of seeing a dream finally come true after a hard-fought struggle. After 35 years of marriage, I know the meaning behind every little gesture he makes. I gave a self-deprecating laugh, drove the car into the hospital, and headed straight for the emergency room. After getting out, Jiang Yan grabbed my arm and said urgently, "Wrong way, Xiaomei is in the inpatient ward." I scoffed and shoved the person away. "You go pick her up yourself. I feel like I'm dying. I want to get checked out and see what's wrong with me. I'm not that magnanimous to personally drive his cherished first love home. I only came to the hospital to get a full checkup." Jiang Yan looked me up and down, scolding angrily. "You just fainted from a sudden emotional outburst. You woke up after only 2 minutes. You're not sick at all. I thought you had genuinely accepted Xiaomei, but I never expected you to curse yourself on purpose just to make me feel guilty." I shook my head. "You're overthinking it. Don't worry, I won't stand in your way." In my past life, I vehemently objected, but it was ultimately futile. Having already died once now, it's time to rein in my emotional brain and make the most rational choice. In this life, I decided to let them have their way. I spent the whole day at the hospital, getting all sorts of scans done. In the end, the doctor concluded, apart from slightly high blood pressure, there's nothing wrong. At your age, you need to make sure you get plenty of rest. I let out a sigh of relief, thankful it wasn't cancer. I was just worried there might be some underlying condition that could trigger other illnesses. By the time I got home from the hospital, night had fallen completely. As soon as I opened the door, I was met with the sound of laughter inside. The moment they saw me, the laughter stopped dead. My daughter, Jiang Lan, stood up from the sofa, looking somewhat displeased. "Mom, where have you been? You knew Aunt May was coming to stay, and you couldn't even be bothered to get the room ready." I took a deep breath, forcing myself not to slap her. After carrying her for 9 months, this little treasure of mine was now siding with another woman against me. All that suffering was for nothing. Seeing I was silent, Xiaomei gave a bitter smile and wheeled herself over in her chair. "Ms. Zhou, I'm sorry for the trouble. I'll leave right now." Jiang Yan's expression changed instantly. He pointed at me and started yelling, "Xiaomei has nowhere else to go. Have you no compassion? Are you trying to drive her to her death?" My face fell. On our wedding anniversary, Jiang Yan and I had plans to go out for dinner, but he stood me up, all because Xiaomei had returned from abroad and wanted to see him. She was unexpectedly injured in a car accident on the way, which ultimately led to an amputation. Jiang Yan was consumed with guilt, convinced that he alone was responsible for the tragedy, because Xiaomei had swapped seats with him before getting in the car. A twist of fate ended up saving his life. Jiang Yan began trying to persuade me, wanting to bring her into our home so I could wait on her. But on what grounds? It's not like she saved my life or anything. Why on earth should I have to wait on her hand and foot? I disagreed, and Jiang Yan immediately gave me the cold shoulder. We had another huge fight about it today, and I was so furious I actually fainted. When I woke up again, I found I had been reborn. I not only knew what would happen in 7 days, but I also remembered everything that occurred before my burial with perfect clarity. Fine, I'll leave, happy now, to have lived most of my life, only to have to make room for someone else in the end. How pathetic. Walking into the bedroom, I saw my clothes thrown on the floor. No surprise there. I quickly stuffed my things into the suitcase. As I stood up, the sight of the bright jasmine flowers and the brand new sheets by the bedside made my heart ache with a sharp, clawing pain. Jiang Yan always claimed to have low emotional intelligence, saying he wasn't one for clever tricks or romantic gestures, yet he remembered that Xiaomei adored Jasmine above all else. Some people aren't incapable. They're just heartless. What's with the attitude now? If you leave, who's going to look after Xiaomei? Jiang Yan grabbed me, refusing to let me go. "Mom, Dad and I both have to work, while you're just at home with nothing to do. Idle all day. It's really easy, just cook at home and keep Aunt May company while you're at it." My daughter looked at me as if I were a petulant child throwing a tantrum. In my past life, I gave in. I took on the responsibility of caring for Xiaomei, and it ended up being the death of me. All I want now is a quiet life. Since you two are so in love, you can take care of each other. With that, she pulled the divorce papers from her bag and flung them in Jiang Yan's face. "Sign this." You can take care of each other right into bed for all I care. No one stopping your little love affair. Jiang Yan's face darkened instantly, suppressing his rage. He bent down to pick up the paper from the floor. A glance at it made his face turn pale with shock. You're insane, he said. I'm not insane. I just want to survive. They drove him to an early grave with all their nonsense. Chamay is no spring chicken. Yet she's still playing the damsel in distress, wanting it all, demanding everything, day in and day out. She's been snitching on me, both openly and behind my back, accusing me of mistreating her and starving her. Jiang Yan called me an ungrateful wretch, he said. If it weren't for Chamay saving me, you might have become a widow. Have you no conscience? I have no heart. My conscience was eaten by a dog, so, let's get a divorce. And make it quick. Getting married is easy. But getting a divorce is harder than the trials of the monk Tang Sanzang's pilgrimage. The negotiations fell through, undeterred. I just checked into a hotel. I'll never be anyone's servant. First, you just survive, and aim to live a long, long life. When I finally woke up around noon, the hotel front desk called to say I had visitors. Unsurprisingly, it was the father and daughter. Jiang Yan was a key technical expert at the factory. After retiring, he was rehired to continue contributing his skills and making a difference in society. My daughter also has a job and is incredibly busy every single day. Whenever I ask them to accompany me to the hospital, they always say they don't have time. They even tell me that although I'm getting older, I should keep up with the times, learn from the younger generation, pick up the necessary skills, and not always rely on bothering others. It's a miracle they both skipped work on the same day. My daughter saw how furious I was. Mom, you're at your age, running away from home. Aren't you afraid people will laugh at you? Let them laugh, whatever. After a lifetime of living under the scrutiny of others, it's time to break free from society's shackles and live according to my own ideas. I sat back comfortably and lazily on the sofa, feeling a bit hungry. The waiter came in just then with the meal and set the dishes on the table. My daughter's eyes widened in disbelief. Mom, you're actually willing to splurge on something this nice? I ignored her and kept my head down, focusing on my meal. Today, I ordered a lot of delicacies I'd always craved but could never justify spending money on, like Australian lobster. In the past, if my daughter or her father wanted something, or craved a certain food, I'd grit my teeth and buy it for them, no matter how expensive. When it was my turn, I'd always tell myself not to be greedy, not to take too much. I habitually put myself last every single time. They just took it for granted, and looking back, I feel I really sold myself short. Now that I'm indulging my cravings, my happiness is soaring through the roof. No more penny pinching. Spend what you need to spend. I've seen it before. People die with money left in the bank, filled with nothing but regret. Showing. It's just about looking after Chamay a little. It's such a small thing. At our age, there's no need to make a scene. Jiang Yan's implication was that I was making a mountain out of a molehill. I scoffed. It's your choice. Either we get a divorce, or you send Chamay away. Pick one. Still trying to control me. In your dreams, Jiang Yan doesn't smoke, doesn't drink, and isn't abusive. He's the model husband and father in the eyes of the neighbors. Little do they know he never lifts a finger around the house, living like a king. Every time you need him to do something, it takes endless pleading and sweet talking. And even then, he just drags his feet. He always mops with one hand, never wipes the water off the counter, and perpetually leaves things just shy of being finished. I couldn't take it anymore and yelled at him, which led to rumors about me having a bad temper. He gets all the credit, while I'm left with the bad reputation. I toiled away my whole life, thinking I could just endure it, treating him as nothing more than a co-parent. And in the end, you hit me with a sucker punch. If I can't take it anymore, then I won't. Let's just call it quits. Don't push your luck. Jiang Yan's shouting was so loud it made my ears ache. I frowned. Look, our daughter is grown and doesn't need our care anymore. We don't have many years left. Wouldn't it be better to spend the rest of our lives the way we want to? When I was young, I lived according to my parents' wishes. In adulthood, one is swept along into marriage by societal pressures. After having children, even if the relationship is hollow, people often turn a blind eye and strive to maintain appearances. Social conventions and prejudices act like an invisible dagger, confining many within rigid frameworks. They live by the book, trapped by their own habitual ways of thinking. Given a second chance at life, I want to break free from the shackles that bind me and live as my true self. Mom, if you get a divorce, where does that leave my reputation? People will laugh at me. I shot back immediately. What's your reputation even worth? Don't get so full of yourself. Why should we live our lives constrained by other people's opinions, forcing ourselves to suffer? I realized this truth far too late. Fortunately, It's not too late to set things right. After filling my stomach, I took a cup of tea and sat down opposite Jiang Yan. He remained silent. All I could do was try to reason with him, so I began to plead earnestly. After we divorce, you'll be free to do whatever you want. You could even be with Chiamei. Jiang Yan straightened up slightly, his index finger pressing tightly against his thumb. I could tell he was somewhat swayed. Keep up the encouragement. For example, you're always saying you want to climb Mount Tai. Chiamei certainly won't stop you. With all that joint pain and still trying to keep up with the young ones, refusing to accept his age, let him dig his own grave. It's best to avoid doing things where your kindness is thrown back in your face. I took the agreement out of my bag. Sign it. I've got plenty of these in my bag. I printed 20 copies, ready to reclaim my freedom at a moment's notice. You keep the house, I'll take the cash. That way, neither of us gets the short end of the stick. Jiang Yan stared at me, dumbfounded. It seemed he finally understood I wasn't putting on an act. I genuinely wanted a divorce. He hesitated instead. Dad. Aunt May is here. Just then, the door was suddenly pushed open. Looking at the two people at the door, I felt a tumult of emotions. My daughter just took a phone call. I thought she had to leave for some business, but it turned out she went to pick someone up. That's why my daughter is so close to Chiamei. It's because Jiang Yan, behind my back, has been taking her to see Chiamei every year. Over time, she's really opened up to her and started treating her like her own mother. After 35 years of raising you, I get no credit, only blame. To say I'm not heartbroken would be a lie. Moreover, she was fully aware of Chiamei's true identity. Brother Jiang, it's all my fault for causing trouble in your family. Chiamei looked at the agreement on the table with self-reproach. You should just send me back to America. My husband and son are both gone. And my daughter-in-law has vanished with my grandchild, with no one to rely on. Am I supposed to go back to America and beg on the streets? What a clever strategic retreat. Dad, you promised you'd look after Aunt May. Their daughter grew anxious. She turned and yelled at me. Mom, Aunt May is such a good person. Why can't you just accept her? You're so cruel. I was trembling with rage and slapped her across the face. If you care about her so much, then you take care of her, support her, and wait on her like she's your own mother. Recalling the events of my past life felt like a pain that gnawed at my very bones. Back when I was taking care of Chiamei, she would deliberately smash cups on the floor, cut her own hands, burn holes in the sheets, and engage in all sorts of other disturbing, almost inhuman behavior, over and over again, and in the end, she claimed it was me who was resentful, that I was the one slamming things around, destroying property, and tormenting her. The worst part was, her father and daughter were completely blind to it. They believed every word she said. I wasn't just physically exhausted, mentally, I was on the verge of a complete breakdown, barely able to breathe. You want a divorce, and now you're pushing our daughter away too. Jiang Yan looked at me as if I'd lost my mind. I replied coldly, I want neither of you anymore. Father and daughter were both struck speechless. I completely lost control of my facial expressions. Jiang Yan finally signed the papers. As I walked out the door with all my luggage, the very air felt free. My daughter grabbed my hand, looking anxious. Mom, please leave me some money, I said with a blank expression. Adults should stand on their own 2 feet. If you want money, go ask your father. Not only did she choose to side with Jiang Yan, but she also declared she would support Chiamei in her old age, caring for her as if she were her own mother. My heart isn't made of iron, after all. It can still ache. Why should I give money when I'm not even welcome? I'm not a masochist. I could finally breathe a sigh of relief after safely spending 7 days in a 5-star hotel. As expected, cutting ties with that toxic person was the best way to save my own skin. In the following days, I was out looking for a place to rent. After the Lantern Festival, I found a 2-bedroom apartment. It was move-in ready, close to the school, and located in a sought-after school district. On the first day of the new semester, I walked into the school to teach my students. I am a university professor, and I retired not too long ago. The university had offered to rehire me to continue teaching, but I declined at the time. I've chosen to come back now simply to pass the time. If you just stay at home and do nothing, your mind will get rusty. Scrolling through your phone all day only leaves you feeling emptier, because you can't find any sense of purpose. Boredom acts like a harvester, stripping away everyone's vitality and spirit. On my way home after class, I ran into an acquaintance, Xiao Wei. When she saw me, she rushed over in delight, exclaiming, Auntie Zhou. Her voice cracked with emotion. Xiao Wei was a student I had sponsored in the past. It all started years ago when she posted on Xiaohonghong, saying she was orphaned and, due to poverty, her older brother and his wife had no choice but to send her out to work, yet she was a good student, eager to learn. and didn't know what to do. After looking into it, I found this situation was true, so I started supporting her from junior high, all the way through her graduation from high school. Auntie Zhou, I'm going to fetch something, wait for me a moment. With that, she dashed off like a gust of wind. When he returned, he was carrying a nylon bag on his back. She was flushed and out of breath from running. These are some local specialties I brought from my hometown. I was hoping to drop them off at your place. She handed it over, looking a little embarrassed. I took it, opened it for a look, and said with a smile, I love your cured meat and dried vegetables the most. Her eyes suddenly lit up, like the brightest star in the Milky Way, dazzling and radiant. Xiao Wei picked up the bag, offering to help carry it home. After I declined, she looked a little disappointed, but she quickly perked up again, saying, Auntie Zhou, I'll be off then, see you tomorrow. After running a few steps, she turned back and waved at me, her steps as light and cheerful as an adorable little bunny. I shook my head with a wry smile and headed home, carrying the heavy bags. Stepping out of the elevator, I found Jiang Lan pacing impatiently in front of the door. Once inside, she glanced at the nylon bag in the corner and pursed her lips in displeasure. Kids these days don't even know to bring a proper gift. I didn't want to argue with her, so I just quietly put away the cured meats and other things. Jiang Lan didn't move, she just sat on the sofa, her face etched with exhaustion. Dad's sick, and there's no one to look after Aunt May, since it's the weekend. Mom, could you go back and help me out for a couple of days? They completely ignored my wishes and used a commanding tone. I was so angry I had to laugh. I just couldn't fathom how she had the nerve to say that. No, I'm not going. They called first thing this morning saying they missed me. Turns out they just wanted me to come back and be their free nanny. Jiang Lan shot up from her seat. Mom, not only do I have to take care of Dad, I also have to do Aunt May's laundry and cooking. I'm exhausted. Can't you have a little sympathy for me? When I was at home taking care of both of them, no one had any sympathy for me. A live-in nanny these days costs nearly 10,000 a month. I've given decades to this family. And who even remembers my sacrifices? I heard Jiang Yan quit his job to take care of Qiao Mei at home full-time. When I asked why they didn't just hire a nanny, Jiang Lan rolled her eyes. Hired help can't possibly be sincere. I never got this kind of treatment before. When I was sick, I was left alone in bed with no one to care for me. The father and daughter still think I'm some kind of superhero with self-healing powers. From now on, don't come to me about anything related to Qiao Mei. She and I have nothing to do with each other. Jiang Lan returned in defeat, but not before delivering a parting shot. Don't come begging for my help the next time you're sick. I didn't say a word. To be honest, I'd long since given up on that daughter of mine. I never made a point of telling people about my divorce. People saw me keeping to myself. When a colleague got curious, I just mentioned it in passing. The news spread like wildfire through the whole school, and opinions were sharply divided. Some said that getting a divorce at my age was a mistake, wondering how I'd manage on my own, but others admired my courage and voiced their support. Whether their reactions were sympathy or schadenfreude, I paid them no mind. You never know what will come first, tomorrow or an accident. Best to live in the moment and worry about the future later. Despite all the gossip, Xiao Wei still kept showing up around me. After finding out about my divorce, she even started dropping by occasionally to help with the cleaning and keep me company. Everyone says she's just buttering me up, hoping to get something out of it. I just laughed it off. I sponsored Xiao Wei for 6 years. When filling out her college application, she chose the school where I taught without a second thought. When I first met her, with tears in her eyes, she said excitedly, Auntie Zhou, I can't repay you right now. I just want to be close to you. She's a fiercely independent girl. When she went to university, she absolutely refused my financial help and instead took out a government student loan. She's actually very busy. I don't have much free time. I've been working as a private tutor outside of school to earn some living expenses. Nowadays, I work as a photographer for others. I heard the work she posts online gets a great response. She has a lot of followers and is something of a micro-influencer. I both admire and respect her. Getting into a university in a first-tier city from a rural background took more than just sheer determination. It required a spirit that never accepted defeat. Time flew by, and before I knew it, graduation season had arrived. I was wondering how to pass the time during the summer break. To my surprise, Xiao Wei invited me to go on a trip with her. I couldn't help but frown when I heard that. She seemed to sense my concerns. She playfully leaned in and whispered in my ear, Auntie Zhou, I have money now. I promised you when I was little that I'd take you traveling. When she was a kid, she'd always call me on her sister-in-law's beat-up phone, making all sorts of promises. I didn't think much of it, but she seemed to have taken it to heart. Xiao Wei and I agreed that our first stop would be Yunnan. The night before we left, Jiang Lan suddenly came to see me. She said hesitantly, "Mom, Haozi says he wants to get married. What do you think we should do about it? It's your call. Just don't regret it later." After the divorce, my daughter went right back to messing around with her ex-boyfriend, completely ignoring my objections. Haozi is a total deadbeat. He doesn't have a proper job and is utterly useless. And of course, Jiang Lan is a hopeless romantic. A few sweet words, and she's ready to give him her whole heart. I intervened once before, found her a well-matched husband, and gave her a grand wedding, but she couldn't forget her first love, and ended up ruining the marriage. Now I don't want to get involved at all. She can do whatever she wants, perhaps only after she's been hurt, bled, and run headlong into a brick wall will she finally see the light. Jiang Lan stood there, stunned and struggling to accept it. She asked dazedly, "Mom, you used to try to talk me out of things, why now?" I took a sip of water and offered no reply. Instead, she gave me the brush off. "If there's nothing else, you can leave." It's a topic she's been harping on for years. What more is there to say, even if she isn't tired of it? I certainly am. Jiang Lan's face suddenly darkened, a cold sneer curling at the corner of her lips. "Auntie May was right about you all along. You just don't want me to be happy. You don't want me to marry the man I love. Well, I'm going to marry him anyway." I clutched my chest, feeling like I couldn't breathe. "Go, just go, don't come back. From now on, I'll act as if I never had a child. If that's how an ungrateful wretch wants to be, then it's time to cut all ties. Who will you have to rely on when you're old without me? I'm your only family." That arrogant expression made the ache in my chest even worse. "Get out." After they left, my heart was still pounding hard. A deeply unpleasant feeling. With trembling hands, I dialed 120, then called Xiao Wei. I was rushed to the hospital for emergency treatment, but thankfully, it was a close call. Xiao Wei leaned over my hospital bed, crying so hard she could barely catch her breath. She said, "Auntie Zhou, please let me move in with you. I'm just too worried to leave you on your own." My heart aches, yet it's also filled with warmth. This whole incident has taught me a lesson. Everyone says you raise children to provide for you in old age, but if your children are unfilial, they come not to repay your kindness, but to exact revenge. After resting up for a couple of weeks, I finally went to Yunnan with Xiao Wei. She took photos of me. We sampled all kinds of local delicacies, immersed ourselves in the local lifestyle, and even met many seasoned travelers. Every single day was absolutely wonderful. Seeing how happy I was, Xiao Wei came bouncing over with her camera, beaming. "Auntie Zhou, what do you say we head to the next city? Look, we've gained more followers. They're asking me to film you more. They really love watching you." I looked at the comments section, feeling a complex mix of emotions I couldn't quite put into words. Ever since Xiao Wei posted the story of how we met online, everyone's been calling me Zhou the Benevolent. They say I gave her a leg up, helping her step onto a bigger stage and start a whole new chapter in her life. Everyone is thanking me for my act of kindness. If anyone pulled Xiao Wei out of the mud, it was me. But the real person she should thank is herself. If it weren't for the awards plastered on her mud walls, or the deep longing in her eyes, I probably wouldn't have sponsored her. After all, money doesn't grow on trees. You put in the work, you should get the reward. Though, I never expected to get anything from her. My original intention was simply to add one more woman's strength to society. Next stop, Wuzhen. I've wanted to go to this place for ages, but it's a shame I've had no one to go with. Xiao Wei nodded with a grin. I thought for a moment and asked her, "Are you sure I don't need to pay?" It's a bit embarrassing to say, but I haven't spent a single penny the whole time. After Xiao Wei posted the story and pictures, they blew up online overnight. Brands were practically lining up to throw money at them for ads, all trying to ride the wave of traffic. Money was rolling in every single day, so there was zero worry about running out of cash. You just relax and enjoy yourself. I'll cover all your food and lodging, and when the time comes, I'll even cut you in on the profits. Xiao Wei wrapped her arm around mine affectionately, laughing freely and without restraint. The bright sunlight fell upon her face, making her look exceptionally beautiful. Compared to the timid girl she was 10 years ago, she was like a completely different person. I sighed inwardly, shaking my head with a wry smile. There's no need to give me any money. I have my pension, some savings, and I'm not short on funds. Just as I was out enjoying myself, completely lost in the moment, my ex-husband called. He sounded a bit annoyed. "Our daughter is getting married. You should come back for the wedding." I didn't even think about it. I refused outright. 2 weeks ago, Jiang Lan called me asking for money. She didn't mince words. "Mom, I need at least 300,000 for the wedding." I hung up the phone right away. I gave her the cold shoulder. For her first marriage, I gave her 400,000, now for her second marriage. She's trying to milk me again. After my divorce, she never once showed any concern. All she does is take without ever giving. No one will indulge such a selfish person, even if she is my own daughter. Xiao Wei and I have been traveling all over, and we never went back to teaching. This is the best of times. We happily explore every day, post photos and videos online, slip in a few ads, and the money just rolls in. It's nothing like the old days of working diligently and saving up bit by bit. The opportunities created by the internet not only provided for us, but also allowed me to meet people from all walks of life. I also got to experience many projects I had never tried before, and most importantly, it broadened my horizons. As the Lunar New Year approached, I finally made it back home. The very next day, however, my ex-husband showed up at my door. He looked me up and down, his expression a complex mix of emotions. Since leaving me, you've not only been doing better, but your life seems full and vibrant. I just smiled without saying a word. After Jiang Lan's actions landed me in the hospital, I immediately blocked both the father and daughter on all platforms. Once they realized it, they had no choice but to call me from other people's phones. Jiang Yan must have come across me online. After all, I'm a bit of a micro-celebrity now, and a lot of my relatives and friends know about it. Leaning against the doorframe, I told him to cut to the chase and just state his business. Jiang Yan had changed a lot. He was hunched over, as if bearing the weight of a mountain on his shoulders. His clothes hung loosely on his frame, empty and baggy, his body as thin as a rake. His face looked a full decade older, a world apart from his former self. It seemed life had not been kind to him. Our daughter is sick. You should go see her. I don't want to. Even after 6 months, I still can't forget the agony of being on the brink of death. I was gasping for air, collapsed on the couch, and she just looked right through me. Whether she's doing well or not is none of my business now. I refused to go, but Jiang Yan insisted on picking a fight with me. He just wouldn't leave. I was so fed up that I had no choice but to go to the hospital. Jiang Lan's tears streamed down her face when she saw me. She rolled up her sleeve, revealing bruised, purplish skin. Mom, Hauzi is a monster. Apart from her face, which was untouched, her entire body was covered in shocking, horrific injuries. Not only was he abusive, but he also gambled away all my money. I have nothing left. As she spoke, she broke down into sobs again. Mom, I regret it so much. If only I had listened to you back then, I wouldn't have ended up being beaten to the ground. After hearing her out, I was left speechless. Jiang Yan had previously told me the whole story of what happened. After the young couple got married, they enjoyed a blissful honeymoon period. But the good times didn't last. One day, debt collectors showed up at their door, saying Hauzi owed a lot of money. That's how Hauzi's gambling problem came to light. Jiang Lan confronted him, and at first, he tried to placate her with sweet talk. Later, he simply dropped the act, revealing his true colors and hitting her whenever he was displeased. The tension between them grew, and the beatings became increasingly violent. Upon hearing this, I could only let out a cold, scornful laugh. A person can pretend for a while, but not for a lifetime. Now that they've tricked someone into their grasp, they have nothing to fear and drop the act completely. Jiang Lan could have avoided this pitfall. It's a pity they didn't heed my advice, which is how they ended up in this sorry state. I don't feel the slightest bit sorry for her. In fact, I want to yell, serves you right. After Jiang Lan had calmed down a bit, I didn't mince words and got straight to the point with my advice. You should get a divorce. She stared at me blankly, hesitating before she spoke. Mom, I'm pregnant. Get an abortion, straight away. A quick, sharp pain is better than a long, drawn-out one. A child born into a family like this would never be happy. A useless mother, a gambling father, a broken home. It's starting life on the hardest difficulty setting. Just thinking about it makes my skin crawl. I want to keep this baby. Hearing that, I stopped trying to persuade her. I knew she wasn't ready to give up. Unwilling to accept that her final choice was wrong, she still clung to the futile hope of using a child to soften a heartless man. While most men in this world are inherently selfish, bound by morality, they do possess a bottom line. However, expecting a gambling wastrel to turn over a new leaf is nothing short of a pipe dream. As she reached the doorway, she ran into Jiang Yan pushing Chiamei inside. When Chiamei saw me, a flicker of displeasure passed through her eyes. She offered a thin, insincere smile. Jiang Lan is so willful. What married woman visits her parents' home every single day? Sister Zhou, you really ought to talk some sense into her. I ignored her and turned to glare at my ex-husband. Your daughter was beaten like this. Why didn't you call the police? Jiang Yan stammered. She won't live a proper life, always making a scene, disturbing the whole household. Chiamei says family shame shouldn't be aired in public. We couldn't call the police. I looked at the father and daughter, lost for words. If I hadn't kept this matter under wraps, Jiang Lan's reputation would have been ruined long ago. She took 200,000 from brother Jiang, then spent all her time hanging out with Haozi. Neither of them worked. Just lived off that money. The trouble only started once the cash ran out. How old is she? Still trying to mooch off her parents. No amount of family money would be enough for her to squander. Chiamei said with a sarcastic, sneering tone, her face full of disdain. Jianlan blew her top the moment she heard it. She leapt out of bed and started screaming, "Why shouldn't I get my dad's money? You do nothing all day. All you have to do is spread your legs, fake a few tears, and my dad throws money at you. What kind of trash are you anyway?" I was stunned. They used to be as close as mother and daughter. So how did they end up going at each other like mortal enemies? It's only been half a year. But people and events have progressed in ways that are beyond my wildest imagination. Chiamei was so furious she nearly fainted, with tears welling in her eyes. She tilted her head at a 45-degree angle and cried out plaintively, "Brother Jiang." The lingering echo of her voice was so heart-wrenchingly tender it made one's chest ache. Jiang Lan pointed at her and snapped, "You're not a spring chicken anymore, and you're still cooing like that. It's disgusting. If you love acting so much, why don't you go into showbiz? You could star in a drama called The CEO Falls for My Stepmother." A heavy silence fell over the room. Jiang Lan's outrageous comment made the atmosphere unbearably awkward. Jiang Yan led the team in an emergency evacuation. I stayed behind, eager to see how things would unfold. So I asked Jiang Lan what had been happening lately and why she was at odds with Chiamei. She sighed and began to explain the reasons behind it all. So, when Jiang Lan couldn't get money from me, she went and pestered her ex-husband. Jiang Yan had planned to sell the 4-bedroom apartment, buy a 2-bedroom one instead, and give her half of the leftover money, but Chiamei stepped in and absolutely refused to allow it. She said, "What kind of daughter constantly leeches off her own family? With her attitude, we can't count on her for support in our old age anyway." Jiang Yan took the advice and didn't press the matter further. In the end, they barely managed to scrape together 200,000 for the dowry. The bride's family had no money, and the groom's family was dirt poor. The wedding was a shabby affair that people gossiped about for a long time. "Mom, every time I go back to my parents' house, she gives me the cold shoulder and is always whispering in Dad's ear." Trying to turn him against me, Jiang Lan started crying again as she spoke, her voice choked with sobs. "They say a stepmother means a stepfather too, and they're absolutely right. I must have been blind back then to have treated her like my own mother." I let out a sigh. "You reap what you sow. You can't blame anyone else." I didn't say anything more, just told her to focus on recovering. She couldn't bear to get an abortion, but she also couldn't stand on her own 2 feet. No one could help her. I rested at home for a day. I had planned to go out and buy some New Year's goods, but it never happened. Jiang Lan had arrived. The moment she stepped inside, she dropped to her knees before me, wailing and howling, "Mom, I was wrong. I know I was wrong. Please, you have to help me." No sooner had she spoken than footsteps sounded from behind. I looked up and saw him, my so-called good son-in-law, Haozi. He put on a cheeky, ingratiating smile and said, "Mom, you really do look younger every day." Jiang Lan, terrified at the sight of him, hid behind me and sobbed, "Mom, he tied me up and tortured me. What happens between husband and wife stays between husband and wife, right, Mom?" A spat at the head of the bed is made up at the foot. That shameless, couldn't care less attitude of his is infuriating to look at. I really don't want to deal with this garbage, but if we don't sort this out today, nobody's getting any peace. Without another word, I pulled out my phone and called the police. Haozi panicked, "Mom, we were just messing around." I couldn't be bothered to argue with him. "Anyway, the police station is right downstairs." That was a key selling point when we bought the place. It guarantees personal safety. Officer Cap showed up quickly. After hearing the whole story, he took the guy away right then and told us to come down to the station later to give our statements. I turned to Jiang Lan and said, "If you don't want to stay with him, go straight to the hospital to get your injuries documented, get a medical report, gather all the evidence, and then file for divorce." She was on the verge of collapsing from tears. "A divorce? I've had enough. I really have." Her disheveled hair clung to her bruised face, making her look utterly wretched. "Mom, I'm sorry. I was such a fool. I never should have divorced Qin Shun." Her hand gripped mine tightly, and she was nearly consumed by remorse. I withdrew my hand, looked at her broken finger, and had no words to say. Qin Shun was the son-in-law I had carefully chosen. He was once my student. He was an 8 out of 10 in looks, a college graduate, came from a good family, and knew exactly how to conduct himself. After catching Jiang Lan cheating, he didn't make a scene. Instead, he knelt before me and said with self-reproach, "Teacher, I'm sorry. I can't give your daughter the happiness she deserves. When we divorced, Jianlan wanted a share of the assets. But I stopped her. As the one at fault, how could she have the nerve to claim what belongs to someone else? I was determined to find a family of equal social standing for my daughter. This way, not only would their family backgrounds and education levels be similar, but their core values would also align, ensuring their new family would have a lasting foundation. Unfortunately, Jianlan didn't appreciate this. Her marriage, where she married down, didn't bring her the happiness she imagined. Instead, it backfired, leaving her utterly scarred and disillusioned, but she had it coming. I recommended a top-notch divorce lawyer to Jianlan. I didn't get involved in what happened next. By the time everything was settled, a month had passed. Housie got sent to the slammer for a year on abuse charges, where he's probably sewing uniforms. After all that, Jianlan finally saw the light and decided she's done with marriage for good. She wanted to move in with me, but I turned her down. I haven't forgotten a thing. Those wounds are still fresh in my mind. Just 2 days before Chinese New Year's Eve, Xiao Wei showed up out of the blue. She came with her brother, sister-in-law, and their 5-year-old twin sons, all bearing a pile of gifts. Xiao Wei said with a grin, "Auntie Zhou, we're celebrating the new year at your place this year, and next year it'll be at ours. More people means more fun. You won't kick us out, will you?" The family of 5 all put on long faces, pretending to be pitiful. I am utterly willing and deeply moved. On that important day of reunion, they traveled a great distance, all for my sake. They made me truly and firmly believe in the inherent goodness of human nature. On the 29th, we went out in a grand procession to go shopping. Arriving at the entrance to the women's clothing section of the department store, I noticed a commotion. As I got closer, I was taken aback to see it was my ex-husband and his family of 3. Xiaomei looked rather disheveled at that moment. Her wheelchair had toppled over, and she had fallen to the ground with no one helping her up. It was because Jiang Yan and his daughter were in the middle of a heated argument. After listening for a moment, I realized Xiaomei wanted to buy a coat that cost 5,000 yuan. Jiang Lan refused. She jumped up, pointing at Xiaomei on the floor, and said, "Have you no shame? A little flower like you dares to wear such an expensive coat." Jiang Yan's face flushed crimson, and he remained silent. Under the scrutiny of everyone's pointing fingers, Xiaomei buried her face in her chest in mortification. I didn't go over to say hello, deciding instead to find another shop to buy clothes. But Jiang Lan, with her sharp eyes, grabbed my arm and pulled me back. She fumed, "Mom, you've never even worn clothes this expensive. What right does she have to wear them?" I just smiled. My ex-husband was actually quite stingy. Even if Jiang Lan hadn't stopped him, he wouldn't have agreed to spend that much money on a single piece of clothing. Otherwise, why would he just stand there, letting his daughter run wild, willing to lose face without saying a word? The truth is, no matter how devoted a man is, he'll eventually grow tired of being with the same woman for too long. It's like enjoying apples. If you eat them every day, you'll occasionally crave a different taste. What's more, at his age, still needing someone to wait on him hand and foot, no matter how perfect the first love was, reality will inevitably shatter it. Without exception, I went into the clothing store, tried on some outfits, and picked out a few pieces I was happy with. When it was time to pay, Jiang Lan pushed forward and said, "Mom, let me get this for you." Upon seeing the total on the bill, she was instantly speechless. She stammered, "Mom, you really don't hold back, do you? When it comes to spending on yourself, you can't be stingy." Nowadays, a single piece of clothing costs me over 10,000 yuan, especially since I have the money now. Xiao Wei paid back the money I funded her with for 6 years, and even gave me a substantial share of the profits. As I went to scan the code to pay, the shopkeeper smiled and waved me off, saying, "Your little girl already took care of it." Xiao Wei looked at me with puppy dog eyes and nuzzled against me. "I've wanted Aunt Zhou to be my mom for the longest time. Could you give me a chance to prove myself?" My brother and sister-in-law, standing beside us, nodded eagerly, insisting over and over that their family would be the lucky ones in such a match. The twin toddlers suddenly clung to my legs, looking up at me with their adorable little faces. "All the other kids have a grandma. I want a grandma too." Tears streamed down my face. I smiled through my tears. Jiang Yan and the others watched the scene unfold, their expressions a mixture of complex emotions. In the grand scheme of life, everything else is trivial. "Ershing," Jiang Lan called out weakly. "Mom." I ignored her and instead took Xiao Wei's hand, my gaze gentle. "Whatever you want, sweetheart, I'll buy it for you." Wow. I'm so happy, from now on, I'll have a mom to care for me too." An ecstatic scream pierced the sky. They crowded around me as we entered another store, all clamoring to pay for me. I shed my old clothes like casting off the past, and donned one beautiful outfit after another, ready to embrace a new chapter. In this life, I've hit the reset button, happiness blossoms into a beautiful flower within my heart, and my journey into the future has only just begun.